Guys, it's Tyler with TNR Trades. I'm gonna be going over the one trade I ended up taking today. Ended up being a win. Very good day for me. Made about $660 on the day, as well as for Ryan. Right, he ended up passing his fourth eval today. Right, so now he's working with 4 fundeds, as well as here are my executions for the day. Right, as you can see, same exact trade. Very good day for me. I'm gonna be going over my high time frame. Right, what I was seeing, why I took this, how I took this, and all that good stuff, right? So starting off on the 4 hour, what was I seeing? I was seeing that we had swept this weekly low here and tapped into this weekly gap as well, giving us this massive 600-point rejection wick printing on this 4 hour candle, as well as the fact that we had all this high time frame low resistance here leading up to this 4 hour gap, right? So very obvious deal wall for me on the day, right? This 4 hour gap was my high time frame condition, right? And why was that? Well, the reason this was my high time frame condition was because if we want to be bullish on the high time frame, we will trade through this gap, as well as if we want to be bearish, then we're going to trade into this gap to then take us lower, right? So going back to market open, right? Let's just go to, where is it? Right here, right? Yeah. Okay, so what was I seeing pre-market, right? Well, I was seeing that we had this nice accumulation, right, leading up to this 1 hour intermediate high, right? So immediately I was already bullish on the high time frame, so I wanted to see us then continue that on the low time frame. And how would we do that? Well, I would like for us to trade lower into these 30-minute gaps, right? To then, oopsies, right? I would like to see us trade lower into these 30-minute gaps to then get our inversion out, targeting this 1 hour intermediate high, as well as using all this high time frame low resistance and this 4 hour as my magnet for price, right? So continuing on, right? What does market open do? We end up trading higher initially, right? Adding to this liquidity pool with this 930 wick, right? The 930 wick is a strong draw on liquidity, right? Very good thing to have, right? So we have this accumulation where 930 opens, we put in this 930 wick, adding to the accumulation, right? Not sweeping out this intermediate high, not taking away from it, but instead adding to the liquidity. We then begin to trade lower into this 30-minute gap here, and then we get our 30-second inversion here, right? So I'll show you that right here, right? As you can see, we have this 30-second here. We trade lower. This line is our 30-minute gap. This is on Tradevate, by the way. I don't have the 30-second on TradingView. I use it on Tradevate. If you don't have the 30-second on TradingView, please go and use it on Tradevate. It is very beneficial to have, right? So what happens here? We trade into this. We then get our instant inversion here. At this 30-second, I go long right here, and I set my stop at the low, right? I then do not go break even at this 930 wick. Why is that? Well, because if this 930 wick does anything, I would expect for us to rebalance into this 1 minute here or this 1 minute down here, right there, to then displace us back to my draw, right? I did go break even once ES took this high. Why is that? Well, that is because ES still had this 830 wick intact. This is a data wick, right? So that is a strong draw on liquidity, as well as the fact that we had this 1 hour intermediate high on ES as well. So as soon as ES took this high, I did go break even. Not that it really mattered, but just something to keep in mind, just so you guys know that I did go break even on this trade eventually, right? So why did I really like this trade? Well, the reason I really like this trade was because our high time frame and low time frame were both aligned, right? On both the high time frame and the low time frame, we had our accumulation, right? This is a extremely ugly drawing. Let me redo that for you real quick, right? So on the high time frame and the low time frame, what did we have, right? Well, we had this nice accumulation structure, right, where we have our accumulation, right, to then where we then manipulate, right, 930 opens, we then add to our liquidity pool to then manipulate lower into this 30-minute gap down here, and then we get our instant inversion, right? And why is that important, right? Well, that is because our low time frame and our high time frame are currently aligned, right? As I had said before, we have all this high time frame low resistance leading up to our high time frame gap, right? And now we have all this low time frame low resistance leading up to our high time frame deal wall, right? This 1 hour intermediate high. So I really like this trade, right? Extremely good on the PO3 aspect, very good to look at and analyze in the fact, not the fact, but like the thought process of PO3s, right? Very good, right? I also want to talk on this 2 minute here that a lot of people took, right? This is not a valid trade. Why is that? Well, that is because we are currently targeting high resistance liquidity down here. We have just swept liquidity, right? We had our stop hunt here. We then had our inversion targeting this high, right? So this low is now extremely low resistance. There's nothing down here, right? We've swept all the liquidity. We then had our stop hunt when we swept that, and then got our inversion out with good displacement, showing that we are currently respecting bullish and disrespecting bearish. This is also an extremely weak intermediate high. Why is that? Well, that is not going to be our high time frame point of manipulation, right? Does it make sense on the high time frame for us to use this point to then send us lower? No, it doesn't, right? Why is that? Well, that is because we currently have this 4 hour right above with this LR leading up to it, right? So what are we thinking here? Are we thinking that this 1 hour is going to stop us from running all this high time frame low resistance, as well as using this 4 hour gap that is a high time frame point of manipulation, right? As we trade the high time frame, right? Our entries are based on what the high time frame is doing, right? If you are trading the low time frame, that is why you're going to take this trade, because you're taking this as a pattern, right? There is no narrative behind it on the high time frame, right? This 4 hour is our high time frame condition, right? This is more important than this. This 1 hour intermediate high has no significance, right? It's pretty much only going to give us a rebalance before we then distribute back higher to this 4 hour, right? To then actually get our distribution lower, if that is what is going to happen, right? And that's exactly what happens. We get a rebalance off of this 1 hour to then distribute this back to this 4 hour gap, right? No point in taking this 2 minute when you have this 4 hour as well as this LR leading up to it. This 1 hour is now insignificant, right? As well as this low being high resistance, right? Then we get this 15-minute long, right? This 15-minute cont. Not a bad trade. Personally, I would not have taken it, as you only have one, maybe two swings if you want to count that as well. And this one over here leading up to your high time frame DOL. And as well as the fact that ES did not manipulate. ES failed to manipulate into this 15-minute gap, and we put in an SMT at it, which is pretty good. But honestly, I probably would have faded this trade as well, right? We then trade higher, generating this liquidity, where we then have our stop hunt here, right? Where we then distribute lower and run all this LR leading up to this 30-minute gap, right? This red line is a 30-minute gap. Honestly, very good trade. If I wouldn't have taken this trade and stuck to my rules, right, I only take one trade per day unless it is a break even and my trade idea is still intact. Then I might take another trade if a good setup presents itself towards that DOL that is still intact, right? But this short, if I hadn't taken this long here, I probably would have taken this short. Very good short targeting this 30-minute, very good mech, along with all this LR leading up to it, as well as a PO3, right? We have 10 o'clock generate as well as 10:15. We then have 10:30 remanipulate us higher, sweeping out this high, putting in SMT and a stop hunt on NQ to then distribute us lower back down to this 30-minute gap, as you can see here, right? Very good trade in my opinion. Yeah, I think that is going to be it for today. Nothing much else to go over. Oh, one last thing here. This is the 30-second, right? You can see that we have our instant inversion. This is just so you guys can see that there was a 30-second in there if you don't have Tradevate, right? Once again, if you don't have the 30-second on TradingView like I don't, please go on Tradevate and have this open as well, because this will be very beneficial to you, right? Especially when you have these extremely obvious setups here where we have this Judas here, but there's no 1 minute, there's no 2 minute, there's no 3 minute. So you can go down to this 30-second and find that as well for a better entry, as well as trades where you have a higher time frame manipulation leg, right? Say this is your current manipulation leg, but then you have a lower time frame manipulation leg again, and you have, say you have a 1 minute or a 2 minute in here, but then you have a 30-second in here. If you're willing to take this 1 minute or 2 minute, then why not take this 30-second as it gives you the better entry. But along with that, you need screen time, as well as knowing that this is going to be the true low or the true high, right, depending on what it is, and make sure that your stop is protected as well, right? So that is going to be it for today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, as well as please go and join our free Discord, as well as follow us on all our socials on Instagram and TikTok. That is linked in our bio as well. All right. Thank you for watching, and tell someone you love them. Have a great day.